Hi, this is the weekly Labour report from the Democratic Alliance. It's Sunday, the 10th of October, 2021, mere 2 weeks away from the local elections, the local government elections. We wish everyone good luck. Those that have asked for early voting can do so on the weekend beforehand, but please go out there and vote. The Democratic Alliance would really appreciate the support from each and every single person. Your vote does count. Now, to go back to Labour, it's very interesting. We're going to talk about some of the strikes we've seen. We're going to talk about NEDLAC, that we had that one big day strike. We're going to talk about COVID-19 and level 1. Talk about the vaccination, which is also important, and what's happening. We're starting to see some litigation out of that. We must talk about employment equity again. It's pretty sad to even think it's on our statute book, but we need to talk about it. And then obviously what small business benefits out of it. And then finally that legislation. So thank you for tuning in once again. It's Michael Bagram. I'm the Labour spokesperson for the Democratic Alliance in the National Parliament. And it is Sunday, the 10th of October, 2021. Now, the steel industry strike, NUMSA, the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa, on a massive strike. They are, in fact, talking at the moment. They hopefully will have, by the beginning of next week, will have a settlement. We're expecting to see that. In the meantime, there's about, call it 300,000 workers on strike. It's no good for the country. We know they didn't get an increase last year because it was during the COVID crisis. They've been offered a very small increase, and they say they're still going backwards. I understand that. But the Democratic Alliance has strongly looked at that, and we've got to be very careful because we have almost 11 million unemployed people in South Africa today. We can't afford a strike, and in fact, those who are already in jobs are putting their jobs in jeopardy by going on strike. It just doesn't make any sense, and we are hoping and praying for an early settlement of this. Some people might have noticed, not many, but might have noticed on Thursday, that's the Thursday last week, there was that one-day strike. The trade union movement, SAFTU, went to, and COSATU, went to NEDLAC, which is the big consulting body, and they asked for a national strike across the board. No work, no pay, no discipline. No work, no pay, no discipline. On one day, they were expecting to have a mother of all strikes. Well, it didn't quite work out. We didn't see that at all. There were pockets of people going on strike, but it didn't affect the economy. And I think a lot of the sting out of these mass strikes is disappearing. I think the workers are starting to understand, which is good news for South Africa. They're starting to understand that going on strike, not earning, is not actually a good thing at all. It destroys the economy, it destroys income tax, and you don't get money in your pocket. And I think it's a good thing, and I'm pleased to report that the workforce is starting to think about this. And I'm also pleased to report that the unions are starting to think about their own employees. They can't use them as cannon fodder. And they're also starting to say, well, we've got most of our people who unfortunately are out on the street and can't find a job, so why risk those that have found jobs? Most of the unions, not all, but most of the unions don't have strike funds. In other words, to pay people salary to stay at home and picket. So we're not going to see that. In America, there's big strike funds for unions, but we don't have it. Our unions haven't done that. I must have a look at those elections coming up on the 1st of November and the weekend before that. The last weekend of October, where people are going to come out. This has polarized a lot of the unions as well, and they're trying to make sort of hay while the sun shines. So it'll be interesting to see what they do about that. Obviously, COSATU is still in partnership with the ANC. I don't know why, because the ANC has reneged on all the agreements. Every single agreement that they have with the trade unions, they're reneging on it. They're reneging on all the increases. It's pretty sad what we're experiencing. So how come they have an alliance? Well, only someone upstairs can tell us where this is coming from, because the ANC is stabbing the unions in the back, and they're letting the employees of South Africa down. The only party that seems to be worried about employees seems to be the DA. It's quite ironic because the unions keep shouting at the DA, but we're the ones speaking on behalf of the workers of South Africa. I've spent the last 7 years in Parliament speaking on behalf of the workers of South Africa through a DA T-shirt. In other words, I'm representing the Democratic Alliance, and yet I feel I'm representing the workforce of South Africa. Let's talk about vaccination. We know we've spoken about this many times, and we're seeing a lot of companies going compulsory route. In other words, you either vaccinate or don't come to work. We've seen that across the world. Disney, Discovery, Facebook, Netflix, Walmart, Google, you name them, they're all starting to say it's got to be compulsory. I can go through the argument again. I'm not going to in this small video. I've been doing seminars and webinars for companies to explain why and how they can make it compulsory and why it's absolutely necessary in certain circumstances. You have to take a whole lot of things into account. You must consult very carefully. You must have a look at your circumstances, your operational requirements, and then have a look at the individual circumstances, why they don't want to be vaccinated, why they can't be vaccinated, and then try and accommodate them elsewhere. And I'm not going to go through that again, but I'm happy to send anyone notes on this or to answer any queries on the vaccination. I'm quite happy to answer. We have the employment equity legislation. The amendment has been passed. In other words, the minister is now going to start probably from next year going through sectorial targets. If business wants to do business with government, they're going to have to get certificates. This is horrific, absolutely horrific, because you can imagine that most people probably won't get the certificate unless they favor government. So I don't know what's going to happen, but these numerical targets are an anatomy of the worst kind. This is creating a body of law that is pernicious. That's the only word I can think of. And at the end of the day, the minister is destroying business. One small thing that's come out of it is that small businesses under 50 employees will probably be exempt, and that's a good thing. So at least we can then support small business, and they don't have to go through that whole process of employment equity. Under certain targets and under 50 employees, they will have exemptions from it. So that's good, and I think it'll be an excellent start for trying to give a boost to small business employment. So we have some light at the end of the tunnel for small business, which we know the economists tell us small business are the people that create jobs in the future. This legislation, the amendments, has to obviously still go to the National Council of Provinces to be passed there, which will be after the elections, sometime in the mid-November. And it's also going to go to the House of Traditional Leaders, also probably sometime in November. And we can expect probably this to be introduced sometime in December this year, the amendments to the employment equity. So thank you once again for listening to me. It's Michael Bagram on behalf of the Democratic Alliance. I am the Labour spokesperson in the National Parliament, and I would like you to distribute this if you're happy with it. Thank you ever so much.